All right, our next speaker almost needs no introduction. His name is Tony Rich. I've known Tony for a very long time. Tony, like myself and Brent Kynock and other people that are part of this conference, we do work in the asbestos control industry. We're the folks that do asbestos inspections and monitor asbestos removal projects. We're the guys dealing with the legacy issues. And Tony is certainly an expert. He works as an industrial hygienist as well as a environmental technician. But most importantly about Tony is his ability to collect things regarding asbestos, the photographs that he takes of it. And if you guys haven't seen his webpage on Flickr called Asbestorama, you need to. It's probably one of the biggest collections, the finest collections of pictures of asbestos, asbestos products, historical things that probably exist in the world, and he's got millions of hits on his webpage. So Tony, please help us, and we'd love to hear what you have to say today.
Thanks, Tom. And I'd also thank you. I'd also like to thank Linda and ADAO for inviting me to speak today during the 16th annual Asbestos Awareness and Prevention virtual conference. Really do miss being in person, seeing all my great colleagues and meeting new friends. But ADAO is truly an amazing organization with so many wonderful people sharing their incredible stories, vast knowledge, and expertise, all with the mutual goal of helping to make our world safer from the toxic threat of asbestos. As an industrial hygienist working in an environmental consulting asbestos control industry field over the last 28 years, I've tended to specialize as an asbestos professional, particularly with project monitoring, like Tom said, and inspections. Government regulations were set up so that individuals could be trained and properly licensed and accredited to do these activities to find the asbestos and remove it safely. During that time, I've collected, as Tom mentioned, a lot of photos, many photos of various conditions of asbestos containing materials, and even a few products along the way. And I've shared a lot of these images through ADAO asbestos prevention campaigns, and also in exhibits at ADAO conferences, which I believe is met with some interest. These photos and products all demonstrate all too well how much asbestos really was and still is a major problem in our daily lives. Asbestos awareness saves lives. But what is asbestos? What is it? There's a very basic terminology that asbestos is a group of fibrous minerals used as an ingredient in many thousands of products and applications. The common number that's thrown out there is 3,000 products, but behind me I have catalogs from several asbestos manufacturers. They each alone have several hundred of products in their own catalogs. All combined, that's well over 3,000. I'd have to say it's 10 to 15,000 products, different applications, materials. It seems to me like overwhelming when I first got into this business and started finding this had asbestos, that has asbestos. It just didn't end. But it really starts out, as many of us may or may not know, as a mining product. I have some photos to share. This was a mine. I think even Linda was there at one point. We had a tour, but Canada has since stopped mining, I believe in 2012. So that's a good thing. But this is how asbestos starts. Large machines, large open pit, usually sometimes underground. If it's scrolling properly, you should see another mine. This is in Vermont. Good. And you also see mill buildings and a very, very, very large pile of asbestos waste, which is still there. So that's how asbestos starts. these large mining operations. This is in Asbestos, Quebec, a town that was named after the mineral. And since this photo, it's actually been flooded, but that's how asbestos starts. And that's a close-up picture of a section of the raw mineral. You can see it's a fibrous type of material right from the rock. This particular type is chrysotile. This was self-collected while I was in Canada. So you can see the seam that runs across the rock, goes to the mill, they crush it, they separate it. This is a ore piece of chrysotile, which is actually that color, it's blue. This particular sample is from Bolivia, which is a lighter shade of blue. Goes to the mine, they take it to the mill, they crush it, bag it, and you can see here there's, at the time they were still processing in the mill, and 50 kilogram bags goes to the manufacturer, and they incorporate it into all those materials we were talking about. And why they used it, asbestos was found to be a great insulator and also added a lot of durability and strength to products, among several other characteristics. So you can imagine adding millions of tiny fibers to a material like cement. What I kind of liken that to is like microscopic rebar, adding it to a material, and it increases the strength of that. So we have material like asbestos added to cement, which brings us to the next photo. Can't seem to, there we go. Sorry. More asbestos palletized, ready to go out to those manufacturing facilities. And this is what we have, a close-up of asbestos cement with white and blue asbestos, chrysotile and chrysotile mixed in that material. These materials deteriorate over time, and the fibers are liberated, can become airborne, and we have potential for exposures. And this is the macro view of that material. You can see it's a pipe structure. In this case, it was used as a vent duct. Johns Manville actually created the term transite, which is how we refer to most asbestos cement in the US. It's also used, as many countries, many folks may know or recognize, the corrugated sheets. This is a large wall at an industrial facility. Asbestos cement, also used on roofing. But asbestos can be found in many places, from homes to high rises and practically everywhere in between. To locate asbestos, I mentioned earlier, US regulations have established requirements for building owners to inspect for asbestos containing materials through a concept called due diligence. And they have to be conducted by properly trained and accredited asbestos inspectors, such as myself, Tom, within their respective state. But as an asbestos inspector, it is our task to ask, where is it? Is it in the ceilings? Is it in the walls? Is it in the floors? Behind, above, below? Any of these areas? On the exterior of the building or on interior building systems? And some of the more common materials, I mean, the list goes on, or what I call the usual suspects are like floor tile, what you see here. In this case, it's in great condition. This is at a school, properly maintained, properly waxed and sealed. So this, I believe, was installed in the 50s. So this is decades old, but looks like it's almost freshly installed. So you can maintain asbestos, but in many cases, it can be improperly handled or deteriorated over time. So we have floor tile. Here's a situation where the floor tile was not properly maintained and it's damaged, creating potential exposure hazards. Here, a renovation taking place where they were pulling up the carpet, floor tile underneath, damaged. And that's where we get involved. And you need special asbestos control personnel to come in and properly remove it. Here's a close-up of that tile. You can see this is a magnified view along the broken edge, but the asbestos fibers are clearly visible. Of course, what the real hazards are is the invisible microscopic fibers you can't see that could be breathed in. This is a very common material lately that I've been running into. Drywall joint compound. Run into a situation where contractors come in due to extreme weather events that have affected buildings like floods or sewage backups that come in. And these contractors will, without any regard, just start removing materials. And we get called in, take samples, comes back with asbestos. Now we have a much larger contamination issue and potential exposures for more people. Situation, just as I described, contractor just started doing work in a big mess in this apartment. This just from a small potential leak where the water affected the drywall and it was wet. And they just started cutting it out without testing first. Another
Tony,
picture.
Pick a couple of good pictures here because we got to move into our keynote speaker here soon.
Okay. We have plaster with horsehair, animal hair, and asbestos pipe insulation. Many homes may have this. It looks like corrugated cardboard. It can be damaged, creating a very serious situation for exposure. It can have brown paper, black paper. This is a very powdery material. It's referred to as magnesia. This was in a school where the personnel accidentally damaged it, causing potential exposures. Zonalite attic insulation. The Libby mine there had asbestos contaminated vermiculite. Clearly that's the product with the bag. If you see this in your home, you really want to hire an asbestos professional to handle testing and removal. This is an air sample of minimal disturbance of that vermiculite, seeing a lot of microscopic airborne amphibole fibers in that PCM sample. Another picture, sometimes it's covered over with cellulose or fiberglass. Be careful. Again, we want to hire an asbestos professional to test for that. In residential environments, you also can run into duct insulation, like a paper on the metal duct. Again, like a thick metal or a thick paper here. But that's just to name a few. First thing you need to do if you suspect asbestos is to hire a qualified asbestos professional to inspect and test. But what can be done if asbestos is found? Again, hire a qualified licensed asbestos professional to have the asbestos properly and safely removed and disposed. I also highly encourage to visit ADAO.org for additional information about asbestos. It's an excellent resource. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. Please, folks, do see his webpage on Flickr called Asbestorama. It is very helpful to help you understand the nature of asbestos materials.